Hello.
David.
Hi.
Good afternoon, I guess it is there. Where are you now, actually?
I'm in Brighton.
Okay.
England.
Okay. I knew that's where you were last week, but hi again, Bill Fair with WRIR. I don't know if you recall, we talked once before at the WRIR studios 12 years ago when you guys were in town for the Man with the X-Ray Eyes.
Yeah. I remember that.
So I want to talk with you about that, but just to get started, I want to make the best use of your time and not take too much of it. Let's talk about the new album, which has been out now for about a month?
Something like that.
So 20 years in a Montana missile silo. It seems to be getting a good reception. I love the record. I played tracks on my show already. And just wanted to talk a little bit about the process. I've been reading and watching other interviews with you talking about the dark room. And I just wonder if you could just explain a little bit about that, how it contrasts with the process you used on the previous records, the Chinese whispers approach. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, please.
It's a continuation of the idea, an expansion of the idea. Alfred Hitchcock once said that the problem with making films is the actors. They always spoil it. And that stuck with me a long time. And one day I realized, the problem with making records is the musicians, and by that I mean it's a natural inclination for everybody to want to cooperate. The guitar player comes up with an idea, and the bass player and the drummer, they kind of want to go along with it, and help it, whatever, amplify it and all that, which is the natural standard operating procedure. However, what happens then too often is you get artifice. And for 40 years, I've been fighting artifice. A story, a song has to have integrity. It has to go where it wants to go. And that means that sometimes you don't get to have a nice little moral ending, like they do in Hollywood, and in Hollywood, about 30 seconds into any film or TV show, you know exactly what agenda you're supposed to be buying into. You know exactly how the story is going to go and every cliche that's going to come down the pike. Well, what happens in the dark rooms is that nobody knows what's going on. They have an idea, and there's no communication between the musicians. The bass player will go off in one direction. The guitar player has a totally different interpretation of the song and where it should go, on and on and on. So these are often conflicting or contrasting or irrelevant to each other, and that's what I want. I don't know where the song. I have a sense of what I want the song to be and what the story is, and I weave the elements that I have together, and sometimes I don't have the elements, or sometimes the story just forces itself to go in a direction. And that's really the notion of the dark room.
The Hitchcock analogy is interesting. It makes me think about, forcing Janet Leigh in a shower and actually attacking her to get a real emotion. But how does that play out actually in the studio? What do you do, and how do the musicians respond?
Nobody is in the studio at the same time.
Okay.
Let me think. There may have been a day or two where somebody was just, gave the other guy a ride, and hung around, but no, they don't really have much communication directly with each other. For instance, Christoph Hahn from the Swans, who's going to be on the road with us as well. He's been a friend of the band for a very long time, and he heard some of the works in progress tapes and recordings, and he said, I really have to be on this record. I'll do anything. I don't care how small my part is. I don't care. I want to be on this record. And he sent in a couple ideas, and they turned out great, and they took the thing in a totally different direction. And he ended up on everything. I think nothing comes to mind that he's not on.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of recording is done. Somebody just sending in a bit of something, and I might say something about, oh, it's not in time in the third verse,
right.
That sort of thing. And they might record 3 minutes, and I only use 20 seconds
Mm-hmm.
of it, and it's a great 20 seconds. But if it's not a great 28 seconds, then I use just 20 seconds. That's sort of how it goes. Is you can't get complete darkness because somebody contributes an idea and it's maybe just a guitar part or a bass part, and I have to spread it around.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't consult with each other, and I try to keep it from being all buddy sort of stuff.
Right. So one of the things that I really like about the production on the new record is the vocal mix, which I find to be really kind of stark, naked, intimate. I mean, it's just you. I mean, how did you achieve that?
Well, a lot of this record is first take stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the Healer, which I'm looking forward to doing live. The Healer came to me as nearly in this form that you hear it on the record. As far as the parts of things, it got adjusted a bit, but it's basically identical. And as soon as I heard it, I called it the Healer, and I knew what I was going to do with it. I didn't have anything written, but I knew where it was going to go and what it was going to say. So I turned the recorder on. I have a sort of an overdub studio at my home. I turned the recorder on and sang, and it's one take. There's actually 2 takes because I messed up the going into the chorus on one of them. So something or other. So I just punched in and did the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
But that's 2 takes. There's a take and a half, to be fair. And a lot of the songs were recorded that way. I mean, Cold Sweat.
A great track.
It's a really good track, and I recorded it at a level that barely was audible. It caused some technical problems in the end of for various reasons, boring musician reasons, but I was barely moving any air on it, and that's very hard to do and hold a note. And I just went through that one. It may have been 2-3 takes, I don't know, but I wrote it as I went along. I'd do a half a verse and stop and think about it and turn the machine on again and finish the verse and on and on and on. And it's a lot of the songs. So I think that doing it I did it at such a low level that it's impossible to do, live, or
Mm-hmm.
it's impossible to do in a lot of recording scenarios, because I was barely moving the air. So again, that's going to be interesting to do live, where everything is loud and clattery, but we've worked on it a bit, and it seems to be doable.
So you said a couple times you're looking forward to doing these songs live. You haven't performed this record before an audience yet, is that right? No,
we haven't done it yet. We've done 3, 4, 5 of the songs in October in the Moon Unit in some festivals in Germany, France, and Czech, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But in those, because the Moon Unit basically works on deconstructing our own material, we've actually deconstructed the songs before the songs came out,
right,
in the Moon Unit, which is interesting. But no, we haven't. We're going to rehearse beginning, I think, November 2nd or something like that, 3rd. I can't remember.
Well, that's exciting.
Basic sort of like. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting because number one, we've got 9 people on the record, but only 6 going out live. So, they'll be like, well, who's going to do that part? And it's like, I don't know.
Right, so talk a little bit about the current lineup. I was reading on the website about the orchestra, and are we there yet, or are you on your way there
No,
still?
no. I gotta get that hit record chart, before I can get the orchestra. But no, it's going to be what we call the American band, which is Gary Ciprico on guitar and Michelle Temple bass, Steve Millman drums, Robert Wheeler synthesizer, and we're joined by Christoph on steel guitar.
And I'm pretty sure the Swans have played this venue before, so that'll be interesting. And before we leave, talking about the record, I think maybe my favorite track on the record is "Toe to Toe," and I'd just be interested to hear you talk about that particular track a little bit, and leave that open-ended, whether you want to talk about what it's about or how it was recorded.
Toe to Toe is really sort of the key. Every Pere Ubu album has basically a key song that sort of sets well, is the key to figuring out some things. And Toe to Toe is like, I think I just talked to you about 20 years in a missile silo about the idea of the claustrophobic idea, and going home to the wife and she's saying to you, "How's work today?" And sitting there playing with the kids, and and tomorrow you're back staring at the button to the end of the world. So in the key to that song is, at the end of the second verse, there's a bridge, and in the bridge I say, I've spent 20 years in a toe-to-toe with Uncle Joe for this. It's like you emerge and you see the ordinariness of things and the complacency that people approach things with, and that's sort of how I feel at times. That's why I, in a lot of ways, keep on thinking about not touring anymore. I fought complacency for 40 years, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of damn energy. So I don't know if we'll tour again in America. I at the moment I'm thinking, I don't know. I could do other things. I like to record. I could record, and not do work night and day for 3 months to do a 1 month tour. So, put up with the ordinariness of everything.
Well, one could hardly accuse you of being complacent. I mean, the time that since we talked last in 2005, you've had quite a number of really excellent records. Why I Hate Women, Lady from Shanghai, Carnival of Souls. You've been active with again during that period with Rocket. So that seems like a lot of self-imposed pressure for a guy who's producing so much.
Well, I mean, I'm getting to the point where I'm still at the point where I'm better than I was yesterday. Doing what I do. And I keep on thinking about old Jim Brown. Greatest running back in history. And he quit at 27 when he was still on the up. He was still improving, still getting better. And I keep on thinking about him. It's like. And he said at the time, I don't want to go through the down. I don't want to go through the stale. I don't want to go through, going out on the road with Pere Ubu, being in Pere Ubu is intense.
I can imagine.
Every night, the show is different in some way. Every night it's 100% period. And we can't tour that much because you can't sustain that level of intensity in change and as soon as anything gets comfortable in the band live, I throw them a curveball right at the head, 95 miles an hour, and I'll start, as we gather at the side of the stage to go on, I'll start saying things like, all right, we're not going to do that song tonight, and we're going to take the second verse from that and put it in after the third verse of that. Or I'll say to somebody, all right, go on out there on your own for 2 minutes and just do something, and you'll mix it up so that nobody gets comfortable, so that the show doesn't get to be stale and ordinary.
So you made a joke a few minutes ago about needing to get that hit record. I mean, how much of that, the ability to do that, to constantly reinvent even on the fly when you're on stage, is a symptom of you see so many artists that get sort of imprisoned by their commercial success and can't do that for that reason, and become sort of captured by whatever they were defined by at a particular moment.
I can guarantee that if I ever had commercial success, it wouldn't spoil anything. All it would do would make everything 100 times more insane, because I would take the money, and we'd still tour in a damn van, still pile our equipment up on stage, turn all the lights white on stage, and do the show. There aren't going to be any dancers. It just means that everything is just going to be nuts, but I can't afford nuts. So we have to do something, we do other things. But, I can't think about that stuff. It ain't going to happen in this universe, in this space-time continuum we're in. So, you do what you do.
Well, and I kind of got the sense that you never really sought after that in the first place, so that's not exactly a disappointment.
No, it's not a disappointment. It's like, oh, well, it would have been nice.
Well, we talked about this. This is kind of a good segue into something I wanted to ask you about. We talked a little bit around the bush about this when we talked in 2005. And I don't know if you remember this at all, but you got a little prickly with me, and rightly so. I made the mistake, and I'm not being facetious in saying this, of using the word punk in reference to the band and sort of what you guys were a part of there at a time, and it got hard to get a straight answer out of you until really I listened back to the tapes and got a full appreciation of what you were saying. I wonder if we can talk about that straight up now. I mean, the sense I get is that there's, I don't know if resentment is the right word, but for the appropriation of what
you're breaking up a bit.
Okay, any better?
You're breaking up a bit, so just give me the question again.
The question is
not the whole preamble, just the question.
Just your feeling about the appropriation of your music and others for commercial gain by other people. I don't think anybody can particularly appropriate us. I mean, I think in a lot of ways we're historically a dead end. There's nobody who, people say, oh, these people are really influenced by you. These people, I don't hear it, and I don't think they can duplicate what we do, which is what I mean by a dead end. When we came out in 70, whatever it was, particularly in England, almost all of the press was about how Pere Ubu is the end of rock and roll. Rock music no longer exists after Pere Ubu, and I resisted that idea for a while, but then I began to think, it's probably true. You can't, once something like Pere Ubu comes along, you can't go back to the old ways of doing things. You have to, of course, everybody did, It was like, well, oh, that was interesting. Okay, let's, put out our 3-chord something or other, so, and as far as the whole punk thing goes, I probably bit your hand off or something, at the time, but we've never been a part of anything, and the thing that we might have been a part of was destroyed by punk, so, it's really, to me, it's very simple. And to us in the early 70s, it was very simple. There was a straight evolutionary line from maybe Ike Turner to Elvis Presley to Brian Wilson to Lou Reed to the introduction of analog synthesizers to us. It was very obvious, what was going to happen next and what should happen next. And we were paying attention. The bus came along and we got on it. Everybody else was screwing around doing something else.
we got on the bus into the future, the manifest destiny of rock music. We are the mainstream. This is it. This is
Mm-hmm.
what rock music is supposed to have been, you know, in the real universe. This alternate universe that we inhabit is all screwed up, you know.
So where does the line or the bus go from here? Is this it, or is music over?
No, it's not over, but I'm not sure there's many people who have the courage and the dedication to push,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to push and it hurts, and you have to take chances and not care. I mean, we had a bad attitude. People thought we were punk maybe because we had a bad attitude. Our bad attitude was that we detested. We saw all of the mainstream rock bands that would play 1,000 people in Cleveland. They just did cover versions, and we found this ordinariness just offensive.
Mm-hmm.
It was and that's what we were angry about. You have this great vehicle, this chromium hot rod vehicle, that you've been given from your forefathers, and we saw this. We got behind the wheel. We got it out on the road in Pennsylvania, and we opened it up to see what it could do. And after a while going through the wilderness, we saw an exit sign, Satisfied City, exit 1 mile. And we thought to ourselves, that would be great. That would be really wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with Satisfied City. It's a fine ambition and a fine destination. But then, we saw the road heading over the hill into the wilderness. And I had to know what was over the damn hill. I had to know. So we passed by Satisfied City, went on for a while, came to another sign, Satisfied City, exit 1 mile. And the road stretched out in front. And I said to myself, I got to know. I just got to know. Finally, you get out to the beach in Santa Monica, and your once magnificent vehicle, the muffler is dragging and the doors are hanging off and the engine's steaming, and you get out of it, you walk to the edge of the great Pacific immovable object, and you just hope the end comes really soon, really quickly, before you have a chance to remember every Satisfied City you passed.
Mm-hmm.
That's the deal. That's what we signed up for.
And you haven't stopped looking for that.
It's not looking. You don't have to look to go west.
Mm-hmm.
You just go. I don't know what's over the hill. Maybe nothing's over the hill. I don't know. I gotta know though. I gotta find out.
So, in the lineage that you described a minute ago, I wouldn't have thought to ask this, but you evoked one of my personal musical and life heroes, Lou Reed. I refer to him on the show as a patron saint of my radio show, Stunted Development. I just want to invite you for a minute to talk about Lou.
Well, I usually don't say Lou Reed. I usually say Velvet Underground, because the other people are. John Cale was pretty important, and Mo Tucker and the whole gang.
I saw a clip recently of John and Mo reunited, I think, playing "Waiting for the Man." That was pretty amazing.
Oh, that's cool. But obviously the Velvets. The Velvets were the interface between what had gone before, the Brian Wilson imperative, and the coming of the analog synthesizer, where abstract sound acquired a narrative voice in electric music, and this was a significant and major event. This changed everything. Every rule got changed at that point. And the Velvets, the credit that they deserve is that they were the interface. They were there's other people, but you go with the ones that everybody knows, and they were the stepping stone.
So now, if we take that backward, you started with Ike Turner. I mean, what's your earliest musical memory? What do you recall about, as a child or growing up? What you had access to?
The earliest musical memory the first record, we're running into a serious breakup again.
And now you're back. I lost you for a second. Now you're back.
when people talk about the beginning of rock music, that Rocket 88, which is one of his records, is 1951, is considered the first rock record, by a lot of people. But the first record I remember was my father had the World of Harry Partch record, and I remembered listening to that when I was 8 years old and going, "Oh, this is really great." Now, people who know Harry Partch know that, the idea that an 8-year-old is going to be going, "This is really great," it's maybe strange, but children, I didn't know that this was supposed to be weird. I had no clue. I just listened to it, and I thought, "Oh, this is good." At the same time, my father had a Lenny Bruce record, and he had a Kingston Trio record, and I listened to those, and I thought, these are great. This is really Lenny Bruce. He's funny, and Kingston Trio. Oh, this is really great. Down your head, Tom Dooley. I didn't know that these three records were supposed to be really very different. It was just like, well, yeah, this is good. This is what adults listen to. I thought to myself, this is, because anyway, yeah.
So fast forward to today. I mean, we live in interesting times, as they say, and I'm not inviting you to make a political statement, although you're welcome to, but I'm just curious, how these times, relate to the music that you're making and the art that you're creating. Is there a relationship there?
Well, Pere Ubu doesn't deal with politics. Pere Ubu deals with people who are living in ordinary people getting on with their lives. And as you point out, it is a very interesting time for ordinary people to be getting on with their lives. I think I was talking to somebody just a couple hours ago about live music these days, where everybody wants to duplicate the album on stage, with dancers and all that crap. If I can say that word on the air, you can bleep me.
You can.
So again, the ordinariness, the desire for artifice, for tightly constructed artifice in which nothing dangerous can happen and nothing unpredictable can happen. Obviously, it's reached stultifying levels of exploitation of the common man, of imprisonment, of all sorts of bad things, But all of this is a result of forces beyond individuals and beyond political parties. It's the development of modernity. Modernity destroys meaning. It shreds worth and value. And I'm afraid that's my take on the world we live in. That's a lot to do with, with the whole title, 20 Years in a Montana Missile Silo, or Toe to Toe. This is if you keep on looking to blame somebody, some political party that's the opposite party of you adhere to, then you're missing the point of what's going on. It's just a trap. If you fall into that party political, as they call it over here, analysis, then you're already in prison. You're just a pawn in the game. You're a robot. That's my take on things.
Fair enough. I want to be respectful of your time. You give me about a half an hour, but I do want to invite you to talk about the show coming up November 15th. And you've already indicated that you guys will be rehearsing for that show coming up next week, I guess. But what do you think we can expect, or do you know yet?
Well, with Pere Ubu, you expect the unexpected. It's not going to be. It's Pere Ubu live is a unique event. There's Pere Ubu in the studio, and there's Pere Ubu live. These are almost unconnected bands. As with any band, In the studio, you create something that has many levels, and you can listen to it over and over years, hopefully, and each time hear something different. When I hear a Pere Ubu record, I know every moment of scrap of sound on it intimately, and I still hear things that I'd never heard before. I think, wow, these guys are really clever. And that's the point of studio recording. Live, it's all immediate. It will never be repeated. One moment is gone. That's the end of it. It's visceral. It's dramatic. It's brutal. It's tender. It's whatever the hell it is. But it's gone. And that's the glory of live music. You can totally screw up a song and save yourself the next moment.
Mm-hmm.
You can fix it. You can do it again.
Right.
If we screw up something really badly, I'll just stop the band and we'll do it again. I did a season in the London's West End in the Legit Theatre in a play called Shock-Headed Peter
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago. And that was a really stultifying experience because you could never afford to take a chance because everything was timed out. Everything had to be at a certain professional, quote unquote, level. And you could never, ever, ever just chance something because there was no going back. You couldn't fix it, and I'm afraid that's what live music has become. It's become this, lowest common denominator. We can get by with it and not offend anybody. Well, I got a bad attitude. I don't care about offending people. If you're going to be offended by something, you have only yourself to blame. You allowed yourself to be offended.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care.
What offends you? What does it take to offend you?
Well, as I said, the thing that offends me the most is I've said several times, ordinariness. It's not questioning something. It's going along with what everybody else says. It's going along with what the media says, and I know you're in the media, so you're technically the bad guy, but
we could go farther than that if you like.
Not for TV, so you get a pass.
What you've described actually kind of goes to the heart of what I think that I'm doing on Stunted development, which is challenging the listeners to their notion of what is good and what is bad and what is art and what is not. So I think that fits right in. Selfishly, I hope that this is not the last time that Pere Ubu tours America, but I couldn't be more excited about the show coming up on the 15th. Really looking.
Drop by and say hello.
Absolutely. I hope to do that.
Okay.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.